So, I just want to talk a little bit about a documentary that I just watched. It's called Blue Gold. It's on Netflix. It's about water wars and like the current situation with our water around the globe, and it was an excellent video. I don't know if it's available on YouTube. It probably is. But if you have Netflix, totally check it out. I mean, it's not a comedy or nothing. It's reality checker, but really got me thinking. And dude, F bottled water. Seriously? It's not even any better than any other water that you get out of your tap. It comes through the same watering system or the water filtering system that your tap water comes through. I mean, there's no special extra process that happens, you know what I mean? It's really whack. And so on there they have a short clip about one of the guys from Nestle or whatever. His voice is all warped out and whatever to protect his identity, but he says, quote, "I wouldn't say that bottled water is healthier, but we like to say that it's a healthy alternative." So basically saying it's not good, it's not better water, but it's decent water that you can choose to have instead of tap water. It's an alternative and it's healthy, but it's not healthier, you know. And it really talks about how how water has become a good. It is no longer a right, it's a good. It is something to be traded, it is something to be marketed, you know. It's really disgusting. And well, it covers a lot of different topics about water, really, and it addresses a little bit of like deforestation, and how that's, you know, leading to desertification, turning, you know, what could be a forest into a desert. No, I'm from the desert. I'm from Arizona. I live in Arizona, and when we get rain, we get flash floods and flash flood warnings, you know, and anywhere through the desert you can come across washes, even like the canyons and things like that, you know, because when the rain falls, it hits the dirt and it doesn't absorb instantly. It collects on the surface and runs down, you know. So yeah, and you know, we need the trees to create ecosystems in the soil to be able to absorb water and maintain water. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen floating around Facebook right now, but there's a picture, and I think it came off of this documentary, about, it's a picture of the earth, and then it shows the oceans, and it says salt water, and it's got a little teeny tiny dot, and it says fresh water. So the ratio of fresh water to salt water is huge. I mean, there's barely any fresh water on the planet compared to how much water we actually have. And basically, we're kind of just shooting ourselves in the foot by causing all the water to not be maintained on the land and on the, you know, on the masses, and it all just kind of runs into the ocean. So we're slowly getting rid of and not only that, but pollution to our waters. I mean, how many people can just walk up into their stream or their nearby river and get a drink of water safely? I don't know if it's even possible anymore, to be honest. You know, and that's not a coincidence that, you know, that's not coming up right now and hasn't been one of the major things that our governments have been working towards, because big business wants you to not have any access to any clean water and be able to, and have to rely on their water filtering system, you know, the only source for clean water, which is basically where we're already looking at. I mean, and if you go to third world countries and developing world, it's bad. People, the water is so expensive to them there. It was talking about somewhere in like Kenya, and how Coca-Cola basically owns Kenya, and a bottle of water costs more than a bottle of Coca-Cola there. And their water meters, like, it's so expensive for them to even run water into their house that they don't. Like, one family said he could only afford 2 flushes a month in his toilet. Like, so people are being forced to risk drinking contaminated and polluted water, and it's causing sickness. It's causing people to die. Like, it's a life or death situation that's happening based on profit margins, really. And I mean, I know it's it's around. People are talking about it. It's probably you've heard of it. The water problem. But I really think that this is going to become an issue, a big issue in our, shortly. I mean, it's things to consider, and definitely don't. Where I'm at is like F bottled water. I never was the type to buy bottled water anyways because, I don't drive, so I'm not going to be like somewhere it's there. People like to buy bottled water out of convenience and because it's available. It's like, well, not for me. I can't lug 2 or 3 cases of bottled water home every day, or every time I go grocery shopping, and yeah, it's real bad. It's a bad thing, and I don't know what the solution is. Awareness is definitely the first step. People need to become aware of what's going on and what we're really feeding into. It's scary. Privatization of water. It started just about all of South America. The water's owned. Obviously in places like Arizona, Nevada, California, it's owned. And then they also touch in on displacement of water. Northern California, where they have water sources, pipes in water into Southern California where they grow food, and the water is then transformed into fruits and vegetables, which they then export out of the state. Once you bottle up water and ship it away, it's gone. It's not in your system anymore. And you see, my mom lives in Moab, Utah, and she lives kind of on the outskirts. Her and her husband own a house, and out in their little community, they use wells, and there's 5 houses to a well, right? And so my mom loves to garden. They're in the desert, and it takes a lot of water to maintain her desert. And I remember one day I was visiting her, and she's like, "Oh man, you need to be careful. My old man's gonna get mad because I'm using up too much water on the garden." And it's like, I was like, "Mom, at least you're putting it back in the ground. That water waters your trees and then flows right back down into your well, that's the best thing you can do with your water. Besides, which the alternative is take that water, put it into a pipe, flush it down the toilet, flush it down the drain, and that water is recirculating through these pipes till God only knows when, so at least it's going back into the environment, And another crazy thing about them, which this documentary also brought up, was people like farmers that have access to water or water rights. If they have to use all the water that they have to use all the water that they're issued, and if they start to reduce their consumption, they lose their right to that water. Whatever they're not using gets taken off and sold to somebody else. And it's like, that happened with my mom. The people came and were like, "Hey, you guys aren't using enough water, we're just going to take it back. The amount that you're allowed to use a month is less now." And they fought it. They were like, "Absolutely not. Sorry, how can you make us not conserve the water? It's groundwater. There's only so much, It's not." So yeah, so they're like, well, what they're proposed with it, they got rid of them for last year. I think they might come back now this year and hassle them some more, but basically they have to flood their yard monthly. Otherwise they lose their share of the well, which is unbelievable. It's outrageous. It's disgusting. And so yeah, that's what I got to say about it. There's also another documentary that I'm watching which is, related to this kind of topics, on crimethink.org.com. I'll leave the link down below. I don't know if you can leave a link from Netflix, but I'll leave the name again and everything down in the description. So yeah, that's kind of where my mind has been today. Water, the earth, our climate change, all that crap. The water is a big deal. Screw bottled water, drink tap water. If you want an extra filtering system, get a Brita filter. You know what I mean? Don't feed into that crap. Seriously.